Tokyo, Japan. March 9th, 1972. 8 in the evening. Rain hammers the tin roof of the Kodokan Gymnasium like 1,000 tiny fists. Inside, the air is thick with humidity, old leather, and the sharp bite of liniment oil. 200 people are packed into a space built for maybe 120. Standing room only. Bodies pressed against walls. Cigarette smoke curling toward the ceiling. In the center of the room, a wrestling ring. Not a fancy one. Ropes fraying at the corners. Canvas stained with years of sweat and blood. A single overhead light swinging slightly, casting moving shadows across the mat. Bruce Lee sits in the front row. Black shirt, grey slacks, arms folded. He's here as a guest, invited by a promoter friend to watch an exhibition match. He's not performing tonight. He's not scheduled for anything. He's just watching. Then the announcer grabs his microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the undefeated champion of women's professional wrestling in the Pacific Division, Valentina, the Viper Kazmova." The crowd erupts, and she emerges from the back like a storm breaking through a door. 6'1", 220 pounds. Shoulders wide enough to block a hallway, arms wrapped in tape from wrist to elbow. Her jaw set like concrete. Her eyes scanning the crowd with the cold confidence of someone who has never been put on her back. Not once, not ever. Valentina Kazmova. Soviet-born. Trained in Sambo since age 9. Moved to Japan at 22 to wrestle professionally. Her record, 34 wins, 0 losses. 19 of those wins by submission in the first round. The Japanese press called her the woman who breaks men. Because she had. 3 times in exhibition matches against male opponents, she'd put them down. Dislocated one man's shoulder so badly, he never competed again. She finishes her entrance, climbs into the ring, grabs the microphone from the announcer. What she says next changes the entire evening. "I hear we have a celebrity in the audience tonight." Her voice is deep, accented, loud enough to cut through the noise without the mic. Bruce Lee, the movie star, the man who fights with cameras and special angles. 200 heads turn toward Bruce. "Stand up, little man. Let them see you." Bruce doesn't move, doesn't react. His expression stays perfectly neutral, like he's watching rain fall on a window. Valentina laughs into the microphone. "I thought so, small and shy. In my country we have a saying, a loud rooster on screen is a quiet mouse in person." The crowd murmurs. Some people laugh nervously, others look uncomfortable. Everyone knows who Bruce Lee is, but nobody knows what happens next. "I challenge you, movie star." Valentina slams her fist against the turnbuckle. "Step into this ring. One move. You won't survive my first move. I will put you on the ground before you can blink those pretty eyes." Now, here's the thing you need to understand about Bruce Lee in March of 1972. Bruce Lee in March 1972 was not the Bruce Lee most people think they know. He wasn't just a movie star. He wasn't just a martial arts instructor teaching Hollywood celebrities how to throw punches for the camera. By this point in his life, Bruce was something else entirely. Something that very few people in that gymnasium understood. He'd spent 20 years refining his body into a precision instrument. Not for show, not for aesthetics, for function. Pure, terrifying function. His 1-inch punch could launch a 200-pound man 6 feet backward. His sidekick generated enough force to crack ribs through a protective pad. He could perform a full extension strike in 4/100ths of a second. 4/100ths. The average human blink takes 3/10ths. Bruce could hit you 5 times before your eyes finished closing. But none of that mattered to Valentina Kazmova, because Valentina didn't watch kung fu films. She didn't read martial arts magazines. She lived inside a world of joint locks, takedowns, and raw, overpowering force. In her world, you grabbed someone, you put them on the mat, and you broke something until they tapped or screamed. Simple, effective, brutal. And here's what made her dangerous. She wasn't just strong, she was technically brilliant. Sambo, the Soviet combat system, combined judo throws with wrestling pins with bone-breaking submissions. Valentina had trained under Viktor Kulikov, a former Soviet military combat instructor who'd trained KGB operatives. This wasn't theatrical wrestling. This was real grappling refined for actual combat. Back in the ring, Valentina is still holding the microphone. The crowd is staring at Bruce. His training partner, Taki Kimura, leans over and whispers, "You don't have to do this. She's baiting you." Bruce unfolds his arms slowly. "I know exactly what she's doing," he says quietly. Not angry, not excited, clinical. Valentina cups her hand to her ear theatrically. "What's the matter? Too scared? The great Bruce Lee, afraid of a woman?" Someone in the crowd yells something in Japanese. Laughter ripples through the room. The energy is shifting. People came to watch wrestling. Now they're watching something else. A confrontation they'll remember for decades. Bruce stands up. The gymnasium goes dead silent. 200 people holding their breath simultaneously. You could hear the rain on the roof again. He removes his watch, hands it to Taki, unbuttons his cuffs slowly, rolls his sleeves twice. His forearms emerge, not big, not bulky, but corded with tendons that look like steel cables wrapped beneath skin. He walks toward the ring, not fast, not slow, each step deliberate, measured. The crowd parts for him like water around a blade. Valentina watches him approach. For the first time, something flickers behind her eyes. Not fear, not yet, but recognition. The way he moves, no wasted motion, no hesitation. This isn't how movie stars walk. This is how predators move. She pushes the thought down, buries it under 34 wins and 0 losses. He reaches the ring apron, places both hands on the canvas, and pulls himself up in one fluid motion that defies what 140 pounds should be capable of. They're standing 10 feet apart now, and everything is about to change. 10 feet of canvas between them. That's all. 10 feet between a 220-pound professional wrestler who has never lost a match and a 140-pound martial artist who the world thinks is just a movie star. Valentina drops the microphone. It hits the canvas with a dull thud that echoes through the silence. She rolls her neck, cracks her knuckles one hand at a time. The tape on her forearms tightens as her muscles flex involuntarily. This is her ritual, the thing she does before she dismantles someone. Bruce stands completely still, hands at his sides, not in a fighting stance, not guarding, just standing, breathing, his eyes locked onto her midsection, not her face, not her hands, her hips, her center. The promoter rushes to the ring apron, face white with panic. "This isn't scheduled. This wasn't planned. We can't allow—" "Relax." Bruce's voice cuts clean through the noise without rising above conversational volume. "Nobody's going to get hurt," Valentina snorts. "Speak for yourself, little man." "Set the rules," Bruce says to the promoter. "Her rules. Whatever she wants. I'll agree to all of them." This catches Valentina off guard. Fighters don't do this. Fighters negotiate advantages. They argue about weight classes, about time limits, about what's legal and what's not. They don't hand their opponent every possible edge. "My rules," Valentina says slowly. "Your rules." She thinks for 3 seconds. A grin spreads across her face. "Fine. Grappling only. No strikes, no punches, no kicks. You want to play in my world? We play by wrestling rules. First person put on their back with both shoulders pinned for 3 seconds loses. Or first person to submit. or first person thrown out of the ring. The crowd buzzes. This is insane. Bruce Lee without strikes is like a bird without wings. His entire reputation is built on speed, on hitting power, on devastating kicks that come from angles you can't see. Take that away, and what's left? A 140-pound man against a 220-pound grappling specialist on her terms, in her ring, under her rules. Taki Kimura stands up from his seat. Bruce holds up one hand without looking back, that same single finger. Wait. I accept, Bruce says simply. Valentina can't believe it. She expected negotiation, expected him to demand striking be allowed, expected a counteroffer. Instead, he's walking into her cage, willingly, happily. You're either very brave or very stupid, she says. Maybe both. Bruce smiles, the first smile he's shown all evening. It's not nervous, it's not forced. It's the smile of someone who knows something you don't. The promoter throws up his hands, gives up, trying to stop it, signals the timekeeper. No time limit, Valentina shouts. I don't need a clock to finish this. The bell rings, one sharp metallic note that cuts through the humid air. And Valentina Kazmova makes the worst mistake of her career. She rushes forward. She rushes forward like a freight train leaving the station, all 220 pounds accelerating across 10 feet of canvas. Her arms wide, hands open, fingers spread. The classic grapplers approach. Get the clinch, control the body. Drag him down into her world where weight and leverage and raw squeezing power decide everything. Her speed is impressive. For a woman her size, she closes distance fast. 2 steps, and she's already crossed half the ring. 3 steps, and her fingers are reaching for Bruce's neck, his shoulders, anything she can lock onto. They never arrive. Bruce drops his level 2 inches, shifts his lead foot 45 degrees to the right, rotates his hip, and he's gone, standing where he wasn't a quarter second ago. Valentina's hands close on air. Her momentum carries her 3 feet past where Bruce was standing. She hits the ropes, catches herself, spins around. He's standing in the center of the ring, same relaxed posture, hands still at his sides. The crowd releases a collective breath they didn't know they were holding. Valentina resets. Okay, he's fast. She knew that. She saw the movies. But this isn't a movie set. There's nowhere to run in a ring. The ropes are boundaries. The canvas is finite. Eventually, geometry wins. You can't evade forever in a 16-foot square. She approaches again, slower this time, more measured, cutting off angles, using her wingspan to reduce his escape routes. This is wrestling IQ. Don't chase, herd, corner. Compress the space until there's nowhere left to go. Bruce lets her. He backs toward the corner, seemingly trapped. Valentina's eyes narrow. She sees it. He's running out of room. 2 more steps and his back hits the turnbuckle. Then there's nowhere to go but through her. She pounces, drives forward with everything, both arms reaching to pin him against the corner post. This is checkmate. This is where size wins. Bruce's back touches the turnbuckle. Valentina is 1 foot away. Her hands are closing. Victory is a half second from confirmed. Then Bruce does something she's never seen in 34 professional fights. He drops completely, not to his knees, lower. His entire body compresses downward and forward simultaneously. He slides beneath her outstretched arms like water escaping through fingers. His shoulder passes under her armpit. He's through. Behind her now, standing in the center of the ring while she crashes chest first into the turnbuckle. The crowd erupts. Shouts in Japanese. Someone is pounding the floor with their palm. Valentina pushes off the corner, turns around. Her face is flushed. Not from effort, from something she hasn't felt in years. the slow creeping realization that her plan has no answer for this problem. "Stop running," she growls. "I haven't moved more than 4 feet," Bruce replies calmly. "You're the one running. I'm just not being where you want me to be." That sentence hits her harder than any punch could, because it's true. She can feel it. She's expending all the energy. He's spending almost none. She's chasing. He's choosing. And somewhere in the back of her mind, a voice she's never heard before whispers, "What if you can't catch him?" She silences that voice immediately, resets her stance, wipes sweat from her forehead. Round 2 begins in her mind. Different strategy. No more chasing. Time to make him come to her. Valentina plants herself dead center of the ring. Feet wide, knees bent, arms out like a goalkeeper defending a net. She's not chasing anymore, she's waiting. If he won't come to her, fine. She'll become an immovable wall. Let him try to get past. Let him try to win without engaging. Eventually, he'll have to make contact. And when he does, she'll have him. This is smart. This is veteran wrestling intelligence. Don't play the opponent's game. Force them into yours. Bruce recognizes the shift instantly. His eyes register her new position, her weight distribution, the angle of her feet. He reads her strategy the same way a chess master reads a board. Not just what's there, what's intended, what comes next. He begins to circle, not wide, dramatic circles, tight, controlled, each step placing him at a slightly different angle relative to her center line. He's probing, testing, watching how she adjusts, how fast her feet move to track him, which direction she's slower to pivot. Valentina tracks him. Good lateral movement for her size. She's disciplined, not biting on feints, not lunging at shadows, just maintaining position, staying centered, waiting for the mistake she's sure will come. 30 seconds pass. A minute. The crowd grows restless. Someone yells, "Fight!" in Japanese. Another voice answers telling them to shut up, that they're watching something important. Then Bruce does something unexpected. He stops circling, stands directly in front of her, just outside her reach, close enough that one lunge would theoretically grab him, but just far enough that she'd have to commit her weight forward to close the gap. He raises one hand, extends it toward her, palm open, fingers relaxed. "Take my hand," he says. Valentina stares at him. "What?" "Take my hand, grab my wrist. Use both hands if you want. Get your grip. Get your control. I'll give you the clinch you want." The crowd murmurs. Is he insane? Is he giving up? Is this some kind of trick? Valentina doesn't move. Her eyes search his face for the trap. There has to be a trap. Nobody offers a grappler-free contact. That's suicide. "You're serious," she says. "Completely. Take my wrist, both hands. Squeeze as hard as you want, then try to do whatever you want with me." Her jaw tightens. Fine. If he's stupid enough to hand her the fight, she'll take it. She shoots both hands forward and clamps down on his right wrist. Her grip is immense. 2 hands. 10 fingers wrapped around his forearm like iron bands around a pipe. She squeezes, digs in. She can feel his bones, his tendons, the thin layer of muscle over his radius and ulna. Got him. Finally. Now the fight begins, for real. She pulls, hard, trying to yank him off balance, drag him into her chest where she can wrap him up, bear hug him, slam him to the canvas. His wrist doesn't move. She pulls again, harder, puts her hips into it, drives her legs against the canvas. Nothing. His arm stays exactly where it is. Like she's trying to pull a bolt out of concrete with her bare hands. That's impossible. She can deadlift 400 pounds. She can bend steel bars at county fairs. But this 140-pound man's single arm won't move where she wants it to go. and then his wrist begins to rotate inside her grip. His wrist rotates slowly, not violently, not with effort. It turns inside her grip the way a key turns in a lock, smooth, mechanical, inevitable. Her 10 fingers are squeezing with everything they have, and his forearm is rotating like her hands aren't even there. Valentina squeezes harder. Her knuckles go white. Veins rise on the back of her hands like rivers on a map. She's using grip strength that has crushed coconuts, that has bent quarter-inch steel rods, that has made grown men scream in arm wrestling matches. His wrist keeps turning, and then the physics change. As his forearm completes the rotation, suddenly her wrists are the ones being torqued. The angle shifts. Her strong grip becomes a liability because now she's holding onto something that's applying pressure against the weakest axis of her own wrist joints. The tighter she holds, the more the leverage works against her. It's not painful, not yet. But the message is clear. She's holding a snake that's coiling around her fingers. She lets go, steps back, shakes her hands like they've touched something hot. The crowd is dead silent. 200 people and not a single sound except the rain on the roof and Valentina's heavy breathing. "How?" she starts. Bruce withdraws his hand calmly. "Structure," he says. "Your grip is strong, incredibly strong, but strength requires alignment. When I rotate, I'm not fighting your grip force. I'm changing the angle so your force works against your own joints. The harder you squeeze, the more effective my rotation becomes. You are fighting yourself." Valentina flexes her fingers. They're fine, nothing damaged. But the sensation lingers, the feeling of absolute control slipping away despite maximum effort. "Again," she says, but her voice is different now. The command is gone. It's closer to a request. Bruce extends the same hand. She grabs it again. This time she's ready. She'll adjust. She'll counter-rotate. She'll match his movement. He rotates. She follows. Adjusts her angle. Good, smart adaptation. But then his wrist changes direction mid-rotation. Reverses. Her adjustment now works against her because she's committed to countering the original direction. The new direction exploits her compensation. Her wrists buckle slightly. She lets go again, faster this time. "You change direction." "Of course, you adapted to the first pattern. So the pattern has to evolve. A technique that works once is a tool. A technique that works despite your opponent knowing it's coming. That's a principle." Valentina steps back to the center of the ring. Her breathing is steadying. The frustration is dissolving into something else, something less familiar but far more useful. Curiosity. "This isn't what I expected," she admits. "What did you expect?" "I expected you to be fast, maybe hard to catch. I expected you to run. I didn't expect—" She pauses, searching for the word. "I didn't expect you to give me your arm and still win." Bruce nods. "That's because your definition of winning requires domination, control through overpowering. But there's another kind of control. Control through understanding. When I know how force works, where it flows, where it breaks, where it turns back on itself, I don't need to be stronger than you. I just need to be smarter than the force you're applying." Valentina looks down at her own hands. Hands that have never failed her. Hands that represent a decade of building crushing power. And for the first time, she sees them differently. Not as weapons, as instruments she doesn't fully understand yet. "Show me more," she says. And this time it's not a challenge. It's a student speaking to a teacher for the first time. What Bruce demonstrates next makes 3 professional wrestlers in the audience quit their gyms the following week. Bruce asks Valentina to stand in her strongest wrestling stance, the position she uses when she's about to shoot for a takedown, the position that has launched 34 opponents onto their backs. She obliges. Low center of gravity. feet staggered, hands forward, weight loaded in her legs like a coiled spring. This is her power position. From here, she can explode in any direction. From here, she can generate enough force to tackle a bull. "Good," Bruce says. "Now push me." She looks at him like he's lost his mind. "Push you?" "Put both hands on my chest. Push as hard as you can. Try to move me backward." Valentina almost laughs. This is absurd. She can push a truck tire across a parking lot. She can shove 300-pound men off their feet. Bruce Lee weighs 140 pounds. This will be like pushing a child. She places both palms flat against his chest, sets her feet, drives from her legs. Quadriceps firing, glutes engaged, core braced. She pushes with the same force she'd use to move a loaded sled across a gym floor. Bruce moves backward, 1 inch, then stops, like he hit an invisible wall. That's wrong. That's physically wrong. 220 pounds of force pressing against 140 pounds should produce movement. Newton's third law. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. She has 80 pounds on him. She should be driving him across the ring like a shopping cart. She resets, pushes again, harder. A grunt escapes her throat. Her feet dig into the canvas. She's pushing now with everything she has. Full competitive effort. The same push that once shoved a 280-pound male wrestler clean off the mat. Bruce doesn't move, not a millimeter. His feet are exactly where they were. His body hasn't shifted, his expression hasn't changed. How is this possible? The question comes out between heavy breaths. "Look at my feet," Bruce says. She does. They're not planted wide like hers, they're close together. Narrow base. By every principle of physics she's ever been taught, he should be easier to move with a narrow base. "Now look at my hips." She looks. His hips are angled 45 degrees to her line of push. Not squared up, turned. Her force isn't hitting him head on. It's being deflected, redirected down through his skeletal structure at an angle that sends it into the ground, rather. 3 men line up, shoulder to shoulder, 6 hands pressed against Bruce's chest and shoulders. They look at each other nervously. This feels wrong, like pushing a child into traffic. But Bruce nods. "Whenever you're ready. Full force. Don't hold back." They push. All 3 simultaneously. Over 700 pounds of combined body weight driving forward with athletic intent. Legs churning, shoulders squared. The canvas beneath their feet wrinkles from the friction. Bruce slides back 2 inches. Then nothing. Full stop. 3 grown men, red-faced straining, veins bulging in their necks, feet slipping against the mat, producing absolutely zero additional movement against a man they collectively outweigh by 500 pounds. The crowd doesn't cheer. They don't gasp. They go completely still. As if making noise might break whatever law of physics is currently being suspended in front of their eyes. Valentina is sitting on the canvas. Her mouth is slightly open. Her brain is running calculations that don't produce answers. She's been in the strength world her entire adult life. She understands force. She understands leverage. She understands body mechanics. And nothing in her education explains what she's watching. Bruce speaks while 3 men continue pushing with everything they have. "Valentina, stand up, come here." She stands, walks over, looks at the situation from the side. 3 massive men, 1 small man. No movement. "Put your hand on my spine," Bruce says. She reaches out, places her palm flat between his shoulder blades. "What do you feel?" "Nothing," she says, confused. "You're not flexing. Your muscles aren't engaged. You're not bracing." "Exactly. I'm not resisting their force. I'm not opposing it. I'm channeling it. There's a difference between blocking a river and redirecting it. A dam blocks water. A canal redirects it. Which one requires less material to build? The canal, Valentina whispers. The canal. Bruce steps aside suddenly. Without his structure to redirect their force, all three men stumble forward and nearly fall over each other. The crowd finally breaks. Laughter, applause, hands slapping thighs. But Bruce isn't finished. He turns to Valentina. One more thing. You said earlier you could put me on my back before I could blink. Would you still like to try? The question hangs in the humid air. Valentina looks at Bruce. Really looks at him, not at his size, not at his muscles, at him. At the quiet certainty behind his eyes. At the absolute absence of ego in his posture. This isn't a man trying to prove something. This is a man trying to teach something. No, she says. And the word costs her something. It costs her a version of herself that walked into this building an hour ago, convinced that strength was simple. That bigger meant better. That mass meant power. That version is gone now. Died somewhere between the wrist rotation and the three-man push. No, I don't want to try anymore. I want to understand. Bruce places his hand on her shoulder. This woman who towers over him. This woman who could physically lift him off the ground with one arm. And the gesture isn't condescending, it's respectful. That, Bruce says, is the first step to real strength, not the desire to dominate, the desire to understand. Valentina Kazmova bows her head, and when she raises it, there are tears on her cheeks. What she says next silences the entire gymnasium. I have been a fool, Valentina says. Her voice cracks. Not from weakness, from the weight of honesty arriving all at once. 34 fights, 34 wins, and I learned nothing from any of them, because I was never challenged. I was never wrong. Tonight, for the first time in my life, I was wrong. And it's the most valuable thing that's ever happened to me. The gymnasium is silent. 200 people watching a giant weep, not from pain, from growth, from the violent, beautiful rupture of everything she thought she knew, splitting open to make room for something larger. Bruce speaks softly. Only Valentina and those closest to the ring can hear. Being wrong isn't defeat. Being wrong and refusing to learn, that's defeat. You walked into this ring tonight thinking strength was a number on a barbell. You're walking out knowing that strength is a language, and you've only spoken one dialect. There are hundreds more. Valentina wipes her face with the back of her taped hand, takes a deep breath, steadies herself. When she speaks again, her voice carries across the entire building. Everyone here tonight, remember this. I came to embarrass this man. I called him small. I called him a movie trick. I told him he wouldn't survive my first move. She pauses, looks at Bruce. He survived every move I had, and he didn't even fight back. He didn't need to. That's power, real power, the kind you can't build with plates and barbells. She extends her hand. Bruce takes it. They shake. His hand disappears inside hers. But nobody in that room thinks he's the smaller person. Not anymore. The crowd erupts, not polite applause, thunder, feet stamping, voices shouting. 200 people who came to watch wrestling leave having witnessed something they'll carry for the rest of their lives. Now let me ask you something, and I mean this directly. How many times have you been Valentina? How many times have you looked at someone and decided, before they opened their mouth, before they showed you what they could do, that you already knew their limits, based on their size, their appearance, their background, their accent, their job title, their age? And how many times have you been Bruce, standing there while someone taller, louder, more imposing decided you were nothing before you even had a chance? Both positions teach you something. Being Valentina teaches humility. Being Bruce teaches patience. And both require courage. the courage to challenge your own assumptions, the courage to stand still when the world expects you to run. If this story hit you somewhere real, if it made you think about a moment in your own life where size didn't determine the outcome, subscribe to this channel right now. Not because I'm asking you to, because you already know you want more of this. Hit that notification bell so you never miss these stories. Drop a like. It takes half a second and it tells me you want me to keep finding these moments from history that actually matter. And comment below with one word: understand. That's it. Just understand. So I know you stayed until the end, so I know you get it. Because at the end of the day, we're all carrying assumptions that haven't been tested yet. Beliefs about ourselves and others that might shatter the moment real contact happens. The question isn't whether you're strong. You are. The question is whether you're brave enough to discover what strength actually means. Valentina found out in a Tokyo gymnasium on a rainy night in 1972. She walked in undefeated. She walked out transformed. No loss on her record, but a revolution inside her mind. What's your Tokyo moment going to be?